Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 comedy horror Driven. Now this is a film that is written by Casey Dillard, who also stars in the film as Emerson. It is directed by Glenn Payne, who also makes an appearance in the film as Jim, and it stars Richard Speight Jr. as Roger. Now if that face looks familiar, especially if you're a fan of Supernatural, you will know who he is. He has made quite a few appearances in that TV show as the Angel Gabriel, and he's actually one of my favourite comedy type actors, and I've got fond memories of watching him kind of present like the Supernatural panel every year at Comic-Con, so I quite like Richard Speight Jr. And this film focuses on Casey Dillard's character Emerson, who essentially is an Uber driver. They don't call it Uber in the film because obviously they can't, but she's an Uber driver, and she picks up a passenger who is Richard Speight Jr., who's a bit of a spiky passenger initially, and you think that he's up to no good, and I initially at the beginning I thought this had huge references to the Tom Cruise film, Jamie Foxx film, you know, when Tom Cruise is the hitman in the back of the cab. I thought, oh, this is what this film's going to be, because I didn't know an awful lot about this film going into it. But no, as it turns out, Richard Speight Jr.'s character Roger is a demon hunter, I guess. His family's been cursed for many generations. It's quite a wealthy family, but an age-old relative made some kind of pact with some devil so that demons could roam the earth. So his family then cursed to try and track them down and kill these demons. So he's getting Emerson to drive him from location to location so he can take out these demons, and it doesn't go according to plan. So they have to work together in order to get through the night in one piece. Right, so what are my thoughts on Driven? I actually didn't mind this film too much. It's certainly flawed, but it's quite an enclosed film. It's one of these films that when you watch it feels like a stage play, because 90% of this film is just basically inside this car, and there's a lot of dialogue between these two characters, so that had to work, and it does, thankfully. Richard Speight Jr. has got plenty of on-screen charisma. He's funny, he's witty, and he works well on camera, as does Casey Dillard, who in the film she might be this like Uber type driver, but she's an aspiring comedian. Even though she's not brave enough to actually go into the comedy club and start performing in front of an audience, she tends to practice her routine in the car, or on stage routine. So she's very witty and funny, so they both spark off each other really well, and there's a good chemistry between these two characters. Now if that hadn't have worked, this film would have absolutely been a disaster, because that it's just basically the majority of the film is just these two characters passing dialogue between each other. Thankfully it works, so that's a real tick for the film. Where this film doesn't work somewhat is it because of it being basically in a car for the majority of the film. It feels very enclosed and claustrophobic, and it feels cheap. No getting around it really. It's obviously got quite a small budget, this film, and even when you do get to see these people who are possessed by these demons, and they do get attacked periodically by these possessed people, there's nothing to speak of in regards to any effects. They just look like they're having a bad hair day. Really, that's how they categorise these people having being demonic to some degree. They just look and act and behave like everybody else. There's nothing to set them aside as being demons. So that was a little bit of a letdown for me. And that's it. That's the film. It's these two characters have loads of dialogue between each other, some witty repartee between them, and then an occasional attempt at a tense scene when they are surprised or attacked by these people supposedly possessed by demons. And that's it. And I think it needed a couple of more ingredients thrown into the film, I think, to really rise it above. I think it needed a bit more special effects, and if you're going for the comedy horror aspect for a film like this, I think the comedy side of this works. It's light enough, there's a couple of chuckles here and there, there's some snappy witty writing going on, and it's delivered really, really nicely by both the actors. But the horror aspect of the film severely lets it down. It's not scary. You don't ever really feel like these characters are at risk. And to say that this character, played by Richard Speight Jr., is like this veteran demon hunter, I guess, is rubbish. He's pretty rubbish at what he does, I would suggest. And there's no way on earth he would have got through this evening alive without the help of Emerson. So it's a flawed film, is what I'm trying to say, but I was suitably entertained watching it. I thought it was a nice idea, it was nicely put together, there's some good writing in it, and some good performances by the two main leads. But as a comedy horror, it doesn't work. The comedy aspect is okay, the horror aspect isn't. So that is my review for Driven, something a little bit different. For you to check out maybe when you get the opportunity. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and of course I hope you found it useful, and I will be back for more content on Screen Stars very, very soon.